are really coming to the, I would say, most important session of this Mission Arena number 2, because this is the session which is actually representing the Mission Arena 2 assembly, stakeholder assembly, because we know all about sort of democracy, etc. And it's nice to have workshops. It's nice to sort of, have had lots of discussions, etc. But we miss people out here who did not have the benefit of joining us during the last 1.5 days. And what we, of course, want to convey with these arenas is also a strong voice, a voice coming from this region. And I hope that also some people have the opportunity to now join us online, because the Slido voting is also open to those who actually sit with their mobiles now already back home and who may have also joined us yesterday or even this morning, etc. Because it's very important that we are sort of showing what you here, 150 people, 200 people who joined us over the course of the past 1.5 days, really think about the action points. And very deliberately, we had the first session, which was plenary, and then you spread out into the different workshops. And yes, you were discussing all the various action points, but I don't know how you felt. It was at least also, it's always the same for me, that I would have liked to be in all of them and would have liked to join the discussion and actually also raise my voice and say, well, I would really like to see this action point and that action point. And we are always it's coming back in discussions that we should have cross-sectoral discussions, cross-sectoral, interactions. So therefore, this mission assembly and this stakeholder assembly, even if you're not a shipping expert, even if you're not a fishery expert, even if you're not coming from business support, of course, all of you should vote on also the action points for the various themes, because this is what democracy is about, and this is also what real life is about. So, this session is very much about voting and being active, and therefore, for once, I really want you now to sort of get your wonderful mobile smart devices out. For once, I would really like you to sort of, look into your mobile phones, into your iPads, etc., and actually get on board of the Slido for our final assembly. And while doing so, I would also like to present the big picture, which has been, where is she, Agne, who has sort of, been busying away the last 1.5 days in order to listen into the different workshops. And this big picture will actually also help us to convey messages we actually bring across in this regional roadmap. And no worries, you will see much of it before. So, in terms of being very important that you are actually the voting electorate, please, who is here with us in this room? So we have 45, please, more to join, more to join, more to join. The code is here. You just have to look there on these ones. So it's slido.com, hashtag 8397825. Currently we have 71 on board. Okay, so not really surprising, we have an electorate from Latvia, but also good contribution from Finland, Sweden, the other Baltic states, North Sea. Where are our Estonians and Lithuanians? Okay, but they're here. Okay, I think you can probably then still vote, and now let's go to the second question, because you're not only divided by nationality, but also by age. We would like to not know your exact age, But I mean, I think this is an easy question, isn't it? You can also vote by how old you feel. Okay. That's nice, because actually there's quite a lot of youth in the room, and you are the future. So therefore, I think this is sort of a very good electorate. I'm not so sure whether this is sort of the same, by the way, in real elections. So that's also interesting. And then the next question is about your background, of course. We want to know, when we are sort of, talking about the action points, from which kind of field are you coming from? Who is sort of, is there a bias? I see a little bit of a bias here, but but actually quite a lot also from policy and administration. I'm afraid that the company people, the business people, the startups, etc., we very much had yesterday, but that they are also still in the room. Okay, and then the next one, because we want to move fast. So, now the question comes, of course, in terms of arena, because what we aim to, yesterday in the opening, I said we want to inspire you, we want to sort of engage you, and of course we also want to support you with these arenas to actually meet others, to sort of, exchange ideas, perhaps also to meet new people with whom you have not talked yet. Question is, where there can't count. Okay, so at least, and I see a zero, a real zero with the no. And let's say, okay, conclude that many of you apparently had very good interaction. And now with the last one, we would like to check on, whether something resulted out of this in terms of interaction. I mean, were they interesting in what sense? So, next question. The last one. So, if you then leave this event and also this final session, which we really, by the way, will sharply close at 3 o'clock, no worries, will you come home with new ideas how to sort of deploy mission actions in your region? Have you been inspired, or did you all know already everything in advance? Or is there something you got at? Excellent. Super. So I think this was sort of the exercise, that we get to know you, that we have also many people on board. And now I would like to ask my panelists who join me here on stage. Miller from the Finnish Transport and Communications Agency, also being the policy area coordinator of SHIP in the Baltic Sea region strategy. Fredrik Nilsson, being from the Swedish Board of Agriculture and being also policy area coordinator in the Baltic Sea region for blue bioeconomy. Mare Sturgis from DG Mare, being in charge of the EU for Algae initiative and having also a background, a personal national background from this region. Maria Lamanen from the Ministry of Environment in Finland. Christina Kedo from the Ministry of Environment, of Protection and Regional Development of Latvia, and being also a long-term member of the HELCOM MSP working group, so not only taking the Latvian stance. Tarmo Ots from the Estonian Ministry of Climate, also being involved or being in charge there, I'm not so sure now, in the policy area transport. Still in charge, very good. And then Ugi Sanders from the Council of the Baltic Sea States, CBSS, which is of course also very highly involved in the macro-regional strategy of the Baltic states. And what we now try to do is you will not be sitting here silently. So now we are actually sort of reporting back from the various workshops. And I'm sure that all of you knew that we had these hypothesis action points in the program. But you will see, if you take a look into this one, and if you then take a look into the Slido, that these action points may have changed due to the discussions which have been ongoing over the past days, and where now the rapporteurs will sort of tell us why they have changed, in which way they have changed. And what we want you to do is actually to tick the box. What are your 3 priorities? You only have the choice of 3. And again, we are very often moaning of politicians, etc., etc. But I think we are also all aware that, yes, we have trillions of action points and, you know, so much should happen. But at the same time, we are facing times of limited resources, where also resources have to be spent on other important matters. So the question is, what should a politician do if they have to prioritize? Where should sort of the efforts really go into? And I know it's tough, but, you know, this is how life is, and therefore you should always take up only the 3 you think are, from your personal, you know, point of view, your professional point of view, the most important. And we want to start with sustainable fishery. Vesa, please get up and, you know, tell us, where's the mic, please? And now I would actually like to see the big picture again. The big picture with the focus on sustainable fishery. Can you actually bring this up to show the big picture and how sustainable fishery is represented here? And while you are then looking at your Slidos, you will see the action points, and you can of course already pick out the ones you want. But now is your time, Vesa, to lobby for whatever happened in your workshop and why these action points are there.
Yeah. First of all, good news for you people. No changes in the action points. So instead of that, I think that I would like to give you some kind of a rough background to these action points. They all contribute to a very important, crucial reform of how we are managing our fish resources, not just in Baltic Sea, but in the Europe in general. And one problem, the big problem, is that there is a shift from local small-scale fisheries going on towards large-scale industrial fisheries, which means that much of the catches are taken and used to fish meal production and everything like that. And that, of course, hits hard for the local fisheries, but also to us communities, coastal communities. We are losing economy, and we're losing much of the identity also. So by choosing these or following these action points, we will contribute to a strengthening feeling of combining fisheries management with food production. That is something today that is missing. There is no direct connection between fisheries management and human food consumption or production. So by choosing one of them, you will support that reform.
Thanks, Vesa, for this pitch. And actually, I think almost all of you have voted already, even though I see only 65 on board. Please get back to the Slido and feel also empowered, even if you are not a fisher person, if you are not a fish, that you actually also have a vote on this one. And with that, I would like to actually ask Frederick. You're from the policy area, blue bioeconomy, and you're very much dealing with fish. Are you surprised by what you see here in terms of the vote and what was going on in the workshop?
No, not really. It's all the action points that are written down here. It's hard not to agree on them. So it was a good workshop yesterday about fisheries. It was really nice to see that, this sustainable fisheries management. And as a representative for the Swedish Board of Agriculture, where we promote fisheries, this was really nice to see, and we actually have an action right now to look into how do we use more herring to be consumed for humans.
Okay. Is there anybody else here on the panel who would like to comment on the fishery? We are always talking cross-sectoral, etc. Marie.
Yes, I didn't participate in the discussion, but what I'd like to point out is that what I can see as a positive thing when it comes to fishery on the other hand, and on the other hand nature protection, I think there is some movement towards a little bit better. The Commission, for example, agreed on a marine action plan, which actually combines interests from the nature protection, marine protection side and from the fishery side. And I think it seems like there is a slow movement towards, for example, banning bottom trawling in MPAs. And last week in Athens, there was this global Our Ocean conference, and we could also already see that there are some first countries that are actually doing that. I think it was Greece, for example, who declared that they will ban bottom trawling. And I think it's an issue also for the Baltic, especially for the southern areas.
Okay, thanks a lot. Maris, you want to contribute?
Yes, thanks, Angela. Yeah, fisheries is one of the key blue economy sectors in the EU that is having a common fisheries policy for decades. But we all can notice that things change now. And maybe we also need to look from various perspectives. From me personally, again, with a small disclaimer that it's not official opinion of the Commission, with a small disclaimer that there are possibility to look into the diversification of the activities for fishers. So, and one of the possibilities would be really to look into the ocean regeneration. So fishers were extracting resources from the sea for decades. It's really a unique opportunity to have actions, incentives in place that they look into starting the regeneration of the fish habitats and of the fish resources. And there are options, there are opportunities there. And yeah, from the Commission side, we already launched 3 projects last year. Cool Blue Baltic are exactly the ones to provide the playground for local blue economy actors and fishers to really look into this diversification. Thank you.
And what a surprise, because actually the next action points we want to vote upon are about ocean and freshwater regeneration. We see it on the big picture here, and there were several workshops dealing with this topic, and therefore I would like to give the word to Ander to actually act as the rapporteur and also to explain to us why perhaps some of the action points you see here now on the Slido have changed towards the ones we had in the original program. Ander, word is to you.
Yeah, thank you.
And please vote already, start voting, but this is now your pitch.
We haven't changed the content so much of the action points, but we have made them shorter and more easier to read and perceive, and then maybe easier to put in the action. Yes, so it maybe can sound a bit strange combining together freshwater and ocean regeneration, because workshops were tackling different kinds of methods, and one was about regenerative ocean low trophic aquaculture, and it's really about means of regenerating the ocean by cultivating mussel and algae, which are relevant for this region, the species in the ocean, well, let's say Baltic Sea. But freshwater restoration was more about methods we can use and including nature-based solutions. But the main points I would like to stress here was that whatever you do, whether it's freshwater restoration with various methods or whether it's regenerative ocean farming, you have to explain your actions and your activities. And we aligned it more, saying that you should communicate and cooperate also with local very local communities and very local coastal inhabitants and or people living around the lake you are going to restore. And maybe you can go on also further with carrying out together with them citizen science elements for gathering data, and also going on with co-management, that you can involve people in management actions of freshwater bodies. And in sense of promoting the ocean products, yes, we would still like to have more supportive regulations and more supportive policy framework, which works both for reducing nutrient loads with the help of policy, with polluter pays principle, and also with supporting the local products from the Baltic Sea. And yes, I think our most important and the shortest message in the action points was, let's start. Start small, or otherwise you will not start at all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see that we have already 67 votes. I would actually ask my supporter, Marco, that I actually detected that one can always just have one option, but we had said 3 options, 3 priorities. If you can sort of adapt this for the next action point still to come, then this is great. By doing so, for this one we will accept it. Maris, of course you are sort of the person for ocean regeneration. Are you sort of surprised by sort of this voting, or had you expected this? Are the action points reflecting what you think, what is in the action plans of the Commission?
Yeah, thanks again, Angela. So when looking at these actions, they make very much sense. One of the things that the Commission has done has developed the EU Algae Initiative, which is the roadmap for the Europe to really support algae sector developments to unlock algae potential in Europe. And these actions here that I see are really the ones that we are driving forward the implementation, simplifying licensing procedures, allocating space, working together with national authorities, really ensuring that this facilitation takes place, developing knowledge, research, innovation. These are business support mechanisms. These are actions that are in the pipeline and that we are already looking at. Of course, we need all hands on deck, and this is really you cannot have just one action. You really need to have concerted efforts of all the relevant stakeholders and implementing these actions in a combined way, with a holistic approach. This is really important, and I hope that we are advancing well. And recent EU policies like forthcoming nature restoration law and also the MPA's targets, and of course the overall framework of European Green Deal, were announcing several initiatives. Ursula von der Leyen said that we need to create the economies that give back to nature more than take away. I would say that this should be really guiding principle for any of our actions, that we do the things that give to nature back more than we take away. Because we were extracting resources for decades and in turn bringing the pollution and waste. And this is the recovery models that we need in Europe. So, for this, yeah, they all make sense. Thank you.
Thanks, Baris. Marie, is ocean regeneration something which is also everywhere else on the policy agenda?
Well, I'm very aware of the algae strategy and the progress that is being made on this area, but actually I wanted to raise the point of the apply the polluter pays principle, and in particular the issue of nutrients and the idea that by doing sea-based measures we would be taking out nutrients from the system. So my perspective is that I think, especially up north, eutrophication is the main problem, and the main problem causing eutrophication is, in fact, it is the nutrients in the sea, but the trouble is the still continuing loading from land. And actually, when it comes to effectiveness, it's so much more cost-effective to work on land and work with the soil, try to retain the nutrients on land rather than taking them out from the sea.
But I think it's not, the question is not what we are discussing here, is that it's an or, but it's an and. I mean that.
Yeah, but we should not lose the focus. That's my point.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, but just that nobody. I think when we talk about ocean regeneration, we are not sort of anywhere claiming that. Of course, nutrient discharge has to be stopped first of all. Right? I think. But anyway, so. But with that, because there is also one element which is about licensing and the aim for a supportive policy framework. And I think this is actually moving again into sort of exactly the next action theme and the area we discussed. Here they were, especially this morning, yesterday morning, but also just until lunchtime, I saw people debating, etc., on MSP, on MPAs, etc. And of course, we had also a specific theme on that. And here I would like to call Antti to sort of act as the rapporteur of these very intensive sessions and whether the action points have changed somehow.
Yes, thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. To start with, I'm a researcher, and as quite many of you know, that when you try to publish an article, you get some feedback. And normally there are three options. You get feedback which requires minor revisions, or then major revisions, or then there is the worst option, which is rejection. And I would say that concerning these action points, we made some minor revisions. And why we did those minor revisions was that because we had 3 excellent sessions and very rich and interactive discussions there. And those sessions concentrated on different aspects of marine protection areas and then ocean policies, on how to achieve those protection targets, on how to make use of nature-based solutions to provide ecosystem services and so on, and then how to find policy coherence between marine protection and maritime spatial planning. And our 3 key action points here, which are slightly moderated comparing to which we had on the program, were first of all empower the local communities and then improve the integration. Oh, now it's changing.
Because they are voting. They are voting.
Okay. So could I?
You have them here.
Okay. 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 Just a minute. I wanted to highlight especially 3 points.
Come here.
Sorry for taking a bit of time. Okay, but our 3 points here, which I wanted to really highlight is really that how to improve integration of maritime spatial planning process with land-based activities, which we already raised here as an issue. Then the second point, which was included in those action points in the program, that funding is still needed for a better integration of EU Green Deal maritime spatial planning, marine protection areas and sectoral policies, and for better cross-sectoral cooperation. And then we need adequate planning and implementation of nature-based solutions through this kind of integrative approach concerning biodiversity and socioeconomic challenges. Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, can you take this? Okay, and now let's see what actually sort of, okay. What sort of you are saying as the electorate are the most important, because I think, we always have to be aware there are also sort of action points, I think, which are sort of on we need more science, we need more data integration. But what I see here is, and that's quite interesting because I obviously remember our action points from the last arena, which was focusing on Western Sweden and Denmark and north of Germany, and where also the empowerment of local communities came out sort of as a first ranked one. So there seems to be also here in this room, despite the fact that we are in a different arena in a different region, that this is sort of a very important point. And of course here I would like to ask Christina, you were sort of also actively involved in the workshops, but you are the MSP lady, not only from Latvia, but also with lots of experience across the Baltic Sea region. Again, are you surprised by sort of these priorities? Is that what you had thought? Is that something you also find realistic in terms of you being able as a maritime spatial planner in Latvia to follow those action points?
Yes, thank you, Angela. It's a bit surprising because mostly in the first 3 points we see not MSP but marine protected areas. So of course this is a very important issue now because all of the countries are trying to reach their 30% goal, and MSP is one of the processes that can be used to do it better, because I don't know any country that has within the MPA process such a wide stakeholder involvement as it is in the MSP. And the MSP process itself, it actually makes stakeholder to understand the needs of others and find the best solution to actually go hand by hand together, not against each other. So this is a bit surprise for me, the voting, but maybe it's because of the people around here are more nature protection oriented than planning oriented. So probably yes, this can be solved by MSP, but first I think we have to start, we have to have more funding invested in this understanding on how we can use all the knowledge, all the policy initiatives from the EU level to bring them back to the local level. Local level, it of course again depends from country to country, because there are countries that have this local planning mandate for sea as well. This is not the case for Latvia, but still for Finland it is, for Sweden it is, so also for Estonia to some extent as well. But yes, how we can speak about important and complicated things in a very easy way with our local people so that they understand what we are doing within the whole process. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. I think there is also a third point which really was new in the action point, which is sort of about this need of better communication, that marine protection is not about closing down all options, that it's a positive vision, etc. So I think that because I know the action points, I know that this is a new one which came in. Marie.
Well, I think what is really positive in these, all of these, is the involvement of stakeholders, local communities, and the communication part. That is definitely what we need. And MSP it gives a process for that sort of involvement. It's very good. Talking about the MPAs, there I think we need to talk more about what we are protecting and how we are protecting. This 30% goal is very good, but there is also the risk that we push for protection, but we don't really check what we are protecting and how we are protecting. So that is for one thing. And for the Baltic, I think, let's say, the EU legislation that we have in place for marine protection isn't sufficient for the moment. The nature laws, Habitats Directive, Birds Directive, they don't really address the marine issues. The MSFT doesn't give much basis. So there we would need more. And HELCOM, for example, is doing really good work with the red lists of species and habitats, and that could give much more idea on what we would need to protect in the Baltic.
Okay, thanks. We have, yeah, Christina?
Yeah, just to add about this MPA and MSP processes, I think that MSP process itself is, for example, in Latvia, a very good opportunity for MPAs to involve more stakeholders and for stakeholders to understand what MPA is about. So not like bilateral cooperation, multilateral. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. And again, we are moving logically around this, this big picture, and we heard about coastal communities, and therefore, you know, we had actually also a specific action theme which we brought in newly into this arena, which is really about how can we empower coastal communities, but what is also the role of marinas and what is the role of tourism. And we had a whole workshop on this where Lisi will act as a rapporteur to sort of go through your lobby for the action points and what has changed also.
Yeah, hello. I guess I could say that we had major revision because we started only with marinas and boating, but now we added the coastal community part. And I would actually like to bring out maybe 2 points that we added to the action points. And one was about education, awareness raising, and responsibility. So responsible coastal tourism is an important factor to keep in mind, because there's a lot of differences actually, especially in marinas and boating sphere between Sweden and Finland and in the Baltic countries. So in Sweden there's a lot of boating and coastal tourism happening, a lot of boats, maybe not even places to put your boats. And in the Baltic countries we would like to get more of the leisure boating tourism action. So this is one of the things I would like to highlight. And then one of the other things that is a new one to these action points is that sharing economy and chartering of boats. This is something that could have a huge perspective in our region, so that you wouldn't have to buy a boat, you could have an easier access to take part in the coastal tourism and coastal economy and contribute to the local villages and yeah, to the local people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The vote is still open, and while it is open, I was wondering in terms of, you know, going back to Christina, to, you know, to what extent are these local communities, you know, also the role of mariners, etc. Is this anything which is sort of on your screen when you do sort of the planning processes?
Yes, that's the classic, so to say, land-sea interaction, if we are speaking from the directive terms. Of course, there is a very important part of the MSP itself is the development of ports, because the ports are the ones that actually states the direction of movement from and to land. Not only the big ports, which are acting mostly commercial, but also these small marinas that are actually acting as regional development centers, which is very important. And if we look from the perspective of coastal area, it's always has been very attractive to tourism in all of the countries, and of course also in Latvia we have a specific plan apart from MSB on that. And there's always this, again, planning, development, and environmental concerns, because the coastal areas are all very viable, and therefore all the activities that are planned there needs to be really reconsidered. And the most what we are talking on from the perspective of tourism, and we are speaking about that on already from 2009, from the coastal development perspective, it's the seasonality that is actually getting better and better by years, because locals are doing in other tourism, in other types of tourism are coming in. There are more nature tourism apart from the traditional leisure and beach. So still a lot of room for improvement, but slowly all the impact on the coastal area from the perspective of tourism is getting more sustainable, because it's a bit divided in the time, not only in the summer season. So this is what I can reflect so far, and I think this is quite important also from the MSP side. Yeah.
Thanks. I think we could, yes, please.
I just want to pick up what Lizzie said also about different kind of challenge what I have in Sweden side and in the Baltic side. So that's where this international cooperation, regional cooperation, lessons learned should be taking place more intensively. I think regarding how we develop marines, how we approach the servicing of boats, and in order to kind of to learn from those practices which are already being implemented in other countries and which are in speedy development in another side of the coast, for example. That's very international cooperation, regional cooperation should take place even more in that area, I think.
Okay,
so
yes.
Let's start from the beginning. So first thing, I heard today very interesting presentation or part of it, how to use these marinas in a different way, that from keeping the boat there, it's not enough in our area to maintain all cost of marinas. So if somebody in the room can, actually this is a challenge, and we are very interesting about this in this topic. So if somebody in this room can prepare a list of possible activities which can be done in marinas all year around, I will be very appreciated. Second thing, new concept of renting boats out. It works very well in the Mediterranean area. It can be a possibility also in the Baltic Sea area. I am a little bit hesitant. However, I would be again very happy if somebody makes some kind of research or survey in that field and give me this kind of results. Third issue, which wasn't mentioned, but I think its importance is raising more and more. What to do with old boats and yachts? It is not regulated in EU level or at the moment. However, this is a problem. It's a problem, let's say, in the Central Europe, in the Southern Europe. Maybe it's not a big problem in the Baltic Sea area yet, but it will be in one day. So actually, again, the project idea is the idea to think in the future, to develop some kind of guidelines or ideas what to do, how to recycle used boats and yachts. So,
thanks a lot. I could actually also surely move on to Frederick and Mars in terms of seeing these coastal communities as opportunities of... Yes, please.
I just want to add one thing here. It's about the fisheries sector. If we do it, the recreational fisheries in Sweden, we now have fishing guys that take people out and educate them how to fish the best, how to restore the fish stock, and so on. So it's a win-win situation for both the stock and the tourism sector.
Okay. Good. I think we have later on also still a joint discussion, but of course we have still 2 action themes to come, and we have also, there is a reason why Miller and you're also here, because we had, we had 2 workshops, very much focused actually on the big ships, etc. We now had the mariners, but also, shipping and ports. And here I would like to give the word to our rapporteur, Martin Söberg. Has anything changed in your action points? What were sort of the crucial take-home messages from the workshops you had, actually, especially this morning?
The thing that actually changed was also all the discussions about all the actions, or maybe much more of measurements, that was actually reducing costs, and it's very simply to implement, like lowering speed, etc. It has also changed a little bit about the action points in the regards to how do we disseminate it? Do we need educations? Do we need to have workshops to get them on board? In the shipping and port, we also discussed a lot around green shipping corridors, and also the need of collaboration between different stakeholders on all levels, but especially within the value chain, and also beyond maybe the business rules of today, creating the green shipping corridors. So that was the main discussions. Thank you.
Okay, Miller, I know that you were also part of these workshops. While people are voting, perhaps you can already comment, are these action points exactly the same as you have in PA ship, or are they different?
There's some similarities. I withdrew myself from the workshop, so I couldn't impact on the action items. The EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region's clean shipping political area aims for the Baltic Sea to be a model region for clean shipping. And under that objective, we support measures like digitalization to reduce emissions in the area. Also, we support research on emerging thematic challenges, such as the environmental impact, impact on wildlife, including underwater noise. And the third objective is to support building of infrastructure in ports to support especially alternative fuels. So looking at, well, I can only see 3, the ones that are coming up as the most important. This is very much, well, actually, yeah, we have addressed existing loopholes in governance of shipping industry. And that's, oh, thank you, that's, that's a bit better. But I can't see the ones that they're actually voting for. Yeah, there are a lot of similarities, of course, because in the Baltic Sea strategy for the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region. See, I can't even pronounce it. EU SBSR, as we like to call it. We are addressing the most topical challenges. So these are obviously also the most topical challenges that we have under clean shipping. And the green shipping corridors are seen as one of the greatest solutions coming up for them. I kind of forgot what you asked me. But
whether,
between,
the action points which are coming here from sort of the mission assembly, where there are also people who may be normally more interested in ocean regeneration, in business support, etc., whether they are sort of, exactly 100% in line with what you have as action points in your PA shipping.
Yes,
or whether
of course.
Sort of more elements coming into it.
Yeah, I think we all have the same goal. the number one objective for the EU SBSR is to save the sea, and that's what we want. And all the shipping, the downsides of shipping are all similar issues that we have talked about in every single sector in here. We all want to tackle eutrophication. We want to get rid of waste in the sea, in the water. We want healthy fish. We want healthy livelihoods around the area. And all these objectives are also, like, maybe not directly, but indirectly addressing them as well.
Okay, thanks. I think we will sort of, talk later once more, but it is interesting that here, the clear vote was really, in this case, sort of on investment, really do the things in the infrastructure in terms of upgrading port facilities. There's so much to do. Marie.
Yes, I could also pick up from here a little bit. Yesterday I was following the HELCOM ministerial meeting, and also there was a celebration of 50 years of HELCOM. But I do want to bring up the role of HELCOM here also when it comes to shipping, because actually we have made big advancements in the Baltic Sea shipping and the environmental regulations through HELCOM, working towards IMO, meaning the contracting parties of HELCOM agreeing within HELCOM to approach IMO for example, regulation for the SECA, for regulation of sulfur oxides, and also for NECA, to have the Baltic Sea as a nitrogen emission control area. And yesterday I could hear the ports. Yesterday I could hear that there is now also a movement. Some countries informed that they are also moving to regulating shipping scrubber water. They're banning release of scrubber water from ships, and the ports are actually very important connection points between ships and the marine realm and the land. And I know there are some challenges that we need to work with, and in Finland and also towards HELCOM, one issue is the shipment of fertilizers and especially phosphates, and we have a problem that the ports are not managing the transfer of the fertilizers as they should, and we are currently looking into what possibly could be done there.
Yeah, we had this in the opening speech yesterday, also from Uller, from the John Newman Foundation, who are picking up on this. But I think what is very clear is that it's not only shipping, but also the role of ports is very important places, whether they are small or whether they are big, and that we should sort of include them in the whole equation of mission actions. And with that, I would like to move to the very last action point, which is all about business support. We had a lot of workshops which we're talking about what are the new jobs, what is actually needed in order to create the framework that we get the business into doing the stuff which is necessary in order to come to a carbon neutral and circular blue economy. And Alberto, please tell us what was going on, and has anything changed in your action points after all these discussions and workshops?
Yeah, lots of.
And please do not forget to vote.
Yes, lots of interesting discussions, lots going on. The action points have changed, and indeed there was the part about skills, as you said, which revolves around, on the one hand, creating kind of the education ecosystem that can bring people with skills toward people that are trying to create innovation and business in the blue economy, and vice versa, making blue careers much more known and widespread to people. Then there was a part which I found very interesting, which is about changing business models. So really it goes back into giving a value to, I call them in the action points, I think, ecosystem positive business models, and also bringing investors on board in terms of saying, well, if you finance us, this is also a climate risk reduction positive business model. And yeah, just to cite an example like that, our friends from Origin by Ocean have changed all of their title to activists. So they have a chief executive activist, the CEA instead of CEO. Then another part was related to collaboration with researchers and also with regional authorities in terms of support also for more infrastructure technology to test solutions and to try to go beyond pilots and really support scale-ups. That's something that really came up a lot. Support scale-ups, support longer development in the business sector. And one other thing, the last thing I want to mention is also about the mentoring networking. There was, of course, a very, very prominent aspect. And one thing was about get mentored also by your enemies, by the industries that you find disgraceful, but they have managed to establish a strong business model and a big industrial sector. So going to find also expertise where you're least expected with people that have also financial competencies and so on beyond the blue sector and making that link can support business development.
Thanks, Alberto. And that is now interesting because for all the other themes, we had somebody here sort of feeling very responsible and sort of, promoting it. And now I don't address it to any of you. I look for volunteers in terms of the reactions to sort of really the business side. I mean, how can we support businesses and how can we promote sustainable business models? Who's responsible to promote sustainable business models? Marie, you're...
Well, yes, I can volunteer so much that actually our current government is very interested on promoting business and also engaging business into protection of marine environment. And there are two different items we're working on. The other is the type of green deals for water. And actually we've created a kind of a water green deal model. So basically enterprises, for example, working in the agricultural sector, they could have a green deal on how they will reduce water use, how they will reduce their water impact, water quality impact, and there are different steps they have to adhere to get that sort of a green deal. So that is something we are trying to promote and get enterprises to take on, to having those green deals. Then another more difficult aspect is impact investing, that we would have actually private finance involved in supporting action for healthier marine environment. And one perspective there is that it's rather difficult to, even if we think of how the public funding can be targeted in a more impactful way, it's really difficult to find indicators or sort of what we're actually measuring when we're trying to get that impact. But we're working on that, hopefully increasingly also with scientists, and there are some initiatives already there when it comes to, let's say, regenerative agriculture, but it's outside of what we are doing. But those are the interest anyhow for the moment.
Thanks, and I would like to comment here that we are here with the BlueMissionBANOS. We are the ones who are supporting and engaging stakeholders, but also supporting stakeholders to really take action for mission objectives. And what we are doing actually is also as a project then, it's not only to engage, but also to try to find indicators. How can we measure carbon neutrality? How can we measure circularity? And how can we measure that this is sort of, actually really a sustainable impact, etc. And it's, we have, of course, the HELCOM assessments, but that's sort of very much on the environmental side. But in terms of sort of really getting the indicators for, showing this is a business which is doing good stuff. It's not so easy. It's not in all the monitoring programs. Maris, you were the first, and then, you know, please.
Yeah, one aspect. I think whatever we do, so the added value and the GDP is created by companies. And I think the role of the public administration is really to create enabling and support mechanisms that these businesses, especially those which are climate and environment positive, have necessary support mechanisms and funding to de-risk their investments and to thrive their businesses. Just maybe few examples, like we have launched the European Algae Stakeholder Platform EU4Algae, that one of the deliverables was exactly looking into the business support mechanisms that are needed for the algae sector. Another example, Blue Invest, it's DG Mare initiative, where the potential the companies, SMEs that need funding are able to pitch their projects in front of investors and then get immediately feedback of investors. In this way, increasing their chances to get funding for their for their projects. So we really need to support the businesses that are the climate and environmental positive.
Ugis, you wanted to, or you want to add Frederick first?
Ugis. Yeah, just a thing. I believe we, as intergovernmental organization, certainly could support bringing science together with the business, public-private partnership, let's say, to ensure uptake of the new technologies and to test on the market how the industries are reacting on the new technologies, and that's how that can be lived forward, because I believe that businesses are very much interested in the new approach, the new technology, because that's increased the competitiveness in the market. And that is where I believe public sector can provide very good support. So it's just simple as that.
Okay, Frederick.
Yes, one of the action points in PA bioeconomy is actually to strengthen the role and importance of bioeconomy with increased sustainability. And I know some of you thinking out there, so how do we fund this? Well, there are some funds I know in the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund, look into that, or the Interreg projects as well.
Okay. Actually, I know that because I happen to be in that workshop, Christina, is that perhaps also related that we had in many of the workshops actually this request for being more open, for having demonstration areas, you know, to facilitate also the licensing for things which sort of are completely new. And you presented sort of a new concept of innovation areas. Is that perhaps sort of linked to that?
Technically, yes. But you know, what works on land does not always work in the sea, because there are different ownerships and different physical conditions, let's call it like that. So yes, I think that a very important step in this overall support for the blue innovation is abilities of the licensing system, because in our licensing system it's quite complicated to get a spot in the sea to at least test something. It's only possible for scientific institutes, not like the entrepreneurs. So I think that elaborating this kind of thing into the licensing systems, which is not always linked to the MSP, mostly not linked, but yes, it's still a very important thing to do. Otherwise, if there is no possibility to go and test, then what can we do about it?
Okay, and with that, I would like to actually simply conclude the voting. That is sort of, you know, you have done this. Thank you very much. Give you a round of applause. And Marco, if you could for us here on stage, exactly, so that we see the big picture again. Just for you to know and for you to know what is actually happening with what you have now been voting upon is that we will actually publish, of course, the top 3 you have voted on in half an hour's time in terms of sort of the reflection, what has come back from this mission arena as sort of one of the many outputs, of course. Because that is sort of a strong voice we want to create. This has been sort of, you know, debated here. And now my question, and then we, of course, over the course of the next days, we will also publish all the slides and, you know, the workshop results, etc., where there was much, much more in there, and where I think what is also always crucial with the mission deployment, that we actually put focus on what kind of good practices, the plethora of, you know, I would call it good practices, good ideas, new ideas we have detected over the course of the next 1.5 days' time. But so that you are just knowing this, we will, don't worry, we will close in time, but I would of course like to take the benefit of the panel here. All of you are connected in, you know, already existing structures. You are working in HELCOM, MSP, VASAP, MSP working group. You are PA SHIP, you are in the EU for algae, etc. And of course, you know, the mission was clear that we have to work, that we are not sort of creating new structures, but that we are working with you as the existing structures and representatives. You could not, some of you could not follow the entire 1.5 days time, but you know, when you now sort of reflect back on what you have seen here, what you have participated, what is for you sort of, do you support the mission, and what do you see as sort of the added value of sort of having a collaboration structures across the different sectors? What is your take-home message when you come back from this mission arena? Perhaps we start with you, Mila.
I probably can't answer no. Yes, it has been great, and I feel like we have repeated kind of similar themes which I've heard time and again, but which are always important. We need transnational cooperation. We need global collaboration, especially when it comes to my beef, which is shipping, clean shipping. It's impossible to achieve meaningful results without actually addressing them at the global level. However, as I'm only allowed to concentrate on the Baltic Sea region, it is my attempt to create it as a model region for clean shipping, but I need everybody's help. As I briefly mentioned earlier, the issues that we tackle, even in shipping, they all come down to the common problems that we have. And everybody's help, like whether it is in business support, it's in green algae, whether it's, whichever is your sector, you can contribute to the grander goal. So that's where the power of the collaboration truly is.
Thanks. We can take it the round like this, or you can volunteer on who wants to be first. But Frederick.
I can go on. Well, you mentioned in the magic words, collaboration. It's always the big thing here. We need to collaborate within the ESBSR, the countries around the Baltic, to save the sea. That's quite clear for all of us. But I just want to send a message, especially about sustainable fisheries, because we are right now in a changing world. We are dealing with crises and wars. The fisheries need to be sustainable because the fish has been a great protein source for the humans in this area, and it might be again.
Thanks, Frederick. And actually, this also brings me back that when we were in Brussels in March, and there was a specific session on seeing the future of the sea, that there was a very remarkable keynote speech of the Vice Director of FAO, actually stressing, of course, also the need of that we need food to feed the world, and that fish is a very important element in that, not only here around the Baltic Sea. Of course, we are talking about really global, nutrition needs. Mars.
Yeah, thanks. My answer to your question, Angela, is yes. But to add to that, looking at the bigger picture on the EU level, so the EU aim is become climate neutral continent by 2050. How we can realistically achieve that? Of course, we understand that only reducing emissions of the established sectors, we will not achieve zero, which basically leads to the, and here is something provocative I said to you, Angela. So, does the sustainability make sense to you? Maybe I can, look, again, with a disclaimer, it's a not official opinion of the European Commission. Maybe just, look, everybody maybe knows Jacques-Yves Cousteau and his granddaughter, Alexandra Cousteau. She is also dealing with ocean protection. And she said once at the conference, if you imagine the person who is lying on the hospital bed in a bad condition, then sustainability means to sustain that person in that condition for a long time. Is that something that, of course, we have sectors where sustainability or zero sum is the best possible scenarios. But I'm trying to make the point that we need to increase and look the businesses that contributed to the regeneration of the ocean. Of course, we don't have a lot at the moment, but still, as I said, so our Commission President is on it. We need to work on economic models that provide to the planet back more than we take away. Of course, it's low-trophic aquaculture, it could be regenerative agriculture, eco-schemes, and so on. There is not so much in our policies, but we are moving there, and it's really great that you have a specific topic on the ocean regeneration. One thing is businesses, another thing is creating MPAs and restoring the already degraded ecosystems to go away from sustainability, but towards the regeneration. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is what we, of course, always try to achieve also with these arenas, that we take the issues from various perspectives, so that it's not only about MPAs, it's about MSPs, but also how to support the small companies who have new ideas, but also to get the big shots to change, etc. Because I think, in our entry speech, we showed the system is complex, and it's of course not only the environmental system is complex, but also the human beings are complex, and that we simply have to tackle it from all perspectives, but then actually also bring it to the local level. But I'm the moderator, I'm not sort of the speaker, so actually I would like to give the word to Marie. You were yesterday at HELCOM. What is your, in terms of, I know that a lot of people came from HELCOM now here to the mission. I actually have to ask, is sort of the mission also something which is discussed at HELCOM? Has it arrived?
Well, I think we had so much to discuss in HELCOM actually. But of course, mission is important. It is an enabler, and I think we need this sort of events. We need, because collaboration is at the heart of everything, and the world is moving on. We have new concepts coming in today. We talked about nature-based solutions, for example. We need the incoming generations to learn all the language to get into what we are doing. I, of course, look at the things very much from environment perspective. But even there, we have the ecosystem based management ecosystem approach, and humans are part of that. It means that when we're having that approach, we need to ensure that also the humans and the economic activities, they do fit in. But despite of that, I also think increasingly in terms of planetary boundaries, and when we're in the marine realm, to me the marine planetary boundaries are the ones that are actually defined through the Marine Strategy Framework Directive at the EU level, different policies linked, and at the HELCOM Baltic Sea level, that would be the HELCOM work. We have quantitative targets for how much we can pollute, what sort of levels of also fishing and other things we should achieve. So in a way, I see that we should fit our economic activities under those. And HELCOM has done a lot. There is both the holistic assessment giving a very good overview of where we stand with the status of the Baltic, the pressures acting on the Baltic. We have targets through HELCOM, and then we have the Baltic Sea Action Plan, which actually gives the list. It's a kind of a recipe for reaching a healthy Baltic Sea. Partly all of this we're discussing here is contributing to implementation. We need to go down to local level, work with people, not just do the EU regional, but really work with people in detailed level to implement and collaborate, talk, collaborate, work, implement. That would be my message.
Exactly. Christina, you were also part of the workshops today, of course, also with the colleagues from HELCOM, where we are actually sort of really, I mean, it is pushed through the Mission Ocean. I mean, after all, we have the Blue Parks community, and there is a lot of enabling also finance coming into this initiative, but at the same time also having the initiatives which are promoting carbon neutral circular solutions. Christina, what is for you sort of new in the mission as opposed to the various MSP forums we had, etc., from your experience today?
Yes, I would like to maybe first start from this HELCOM and VASA perspective, which is the long-term cooperation already, where since 2009 the discussions, what is planning and goals and what are the goals for marine protection, it's the regular agenda. And if we look from the perspective up to 2030, the Baltic Sea Regional Roadmap for MSP has a significant part of this blue economy, and from the planning perspective we still don't know the things there, and this kind of events, I think it makes clearer picture for the planners on what's outside the institutions, what's outside the cabinets, governments, and what is really happening in the industry. Of course, the big industry, it's clear, but there are so many innovative things that you actually cannot be aware of, and it's very important to know that if you want to really think about sustainability, not the one with lying, but with getting better, notwithstanding where it is, referring to Mars. But yes, this is the thing, this innovation part, I think this is the most inspiring one also for marine spatial planners who are already used to deal with all of the different topics in one arena, but a little bit different from this perspective. I think this is very valuable. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks. And now the last words to Ries and Tamo, and please always respect humans are also part of the ecosystem, and it's Friday, so we want to finish in time, but nevertheless,
okay.
you know, the mission in Estonia, the Mission Ocean in Estonia.
The Mission Ocean in Estonia, yes, I can say that at least the policy area transportation has signed the declaration, but actually, I was thinking also what I learned from today's actually. I was here only today, so unfortunately I couldn't participate in yesterday's discussion, and today I mainly was working between these working groups or these groups which were dealing with shipping. What I heard, we talked about different pollution, we talked about CO2, But the fact is that the biggest challenge for the shipping industry at the moment is how to reduce CO2 emissions compared to other things. And the critical year will be 2030. So what I heard different opinions. We talk about raising awareness, reducing speed, switching off lights in ships. Yes, these kind of things helps a little bit, but this has certain limit. What I actually expect more in the next group, that we could go more into details and discuss these things. Because today we have also, I understand, one ship owner in our group. So it would be interesting to have these people on one side and like a ship owner in other side. And then to start to discuss what kind of things can be, what kind of proposals which we have done really help ship owners. So maybe this is a challenge for the next meeting, to have more live and more deep discussions. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and I think we could go on now for ages and be assured that we will, however, also as a group, of course, come back to this, that arenas are, of course, just one highlight. It's just one event, but I mean, mission or supporting the implementation of the Mission Ocean here in this region is of course much more. So it's a long-term exercise. It's also picking up from what has been discussed here to actually follow up with you, on what are really the very concrete steps to be taken, and actually even working almost bilaterally, individually, in smaller groups, and etc. So, of course, one event can only sort of shed light, but it's a marathon, and there's a lot more work to come. But with that, I would like to give the last word to Ugis, please.
Thank you, and I have 10 minutes, I believe.
No, there's more to come, so please, yeah?
Okay, I will try to brief. Certainly every forum is very useful for discussions, to share your horizons, and also, I believe, to get a common understanding of the problems. And specifically, I would like to draw also, when it's appeared here, it's common understanding what is a sustainable development. It's certainly, I believe, I would like to refer back to Rio, the definition of sustainable development. All respect to the Jacques-Yves Cousteau granddaughter, but at the same time, I would like to go back to the Rio definition, which is about using resources and ensuring development in a way that preserves, satisfying the needs of future generations. That means that they can enjoy the same benefits we can enjoy now. That is a sustainable development. And that we have to keep in mind, because at the same time, that is also the same way we've been discussing, have to understand what is the green shipping corridors, for example, where everybody has the same understanding, and through these consultations and discussions, that is the way where we are getting there. And every stakeholder consultation bringing up as the ideas, then we can go back with those ideas to our forums, CBSS, USBSR, and bring those ideas in the policy actions, into intergovernmental cooperation with policy initiatives, ideas for the new cooperation projects. And I believe that's every forum where we'll be discussing these things and meeting each other between NGOs, research institutions, governmental representatives, as that is a very important forum for to create this common understanding and to reach the common objectives and common goals on the same roadmap. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for also, really these final words, and why, you are getting up, because we have a very, very small last exercise. I think a good round of applause to our panelists, who hopefully, if you go down, who are hopefully now our future Mission Ocean ambassadors. And with that, I wondered, just as a very last exercise, because you are here really the ones who have sustained the whole thing, etc. I don't know how many of you have been to a science slam, to a poetry slam or whatever. Do you know the applausometer? Applausometer. So we have to have an applause from 1 to 5, you know. Let's test, what is an applause of 1? 1 is low. 1 is low. Okay, okay. 2. Give me a 2. Okay. A 3. Okay, a 4. Okay. And now a 5. Real good. Okay. Okay. That was the test, whether we can sort of judge it. Okay. So I would like to have a bit of an applausometer. To what extent you now feel part of the Mission Ocean community. Please give me an applausometer. How are you part of the Mission Ocean? How do you feel part of the Mission Ocean community? As of now. Okay, and if you had a choice, would you actually ever intend to sort of go to such kind of mission arena again? Okay, because this is very good, because there is actually a next mission arena coming, and you have already the postcard here. So the next mission arena where we are actually traveling from the Baltic Sea to the North Sea to bring the Mission Ocean also to our friends in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in the north of Germany, in the western part of Denmark. So therefore, you know, if you want to sort of attend there, you can also already scribble it down into your diary that November 26, 27 in Amsterdam is the place to go. Of course, we want to sort of very much sort of focus on the stakeholders there, but if you have good messages to bring from this region to that region and, you know, good reasons for collaboration, please sort of already bring it into your diary and be with us there. And with this, I would like to sort of actually do a very last round of thanks, because this kind of event is not possible without the help of many, 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 many hands. And therefore, I would like to ask for all the workshop organizers, Lisi, Martin, Anna, Ander, Frederick, Ferdi, Ivana, Gunilla, Annika, please stand up and come here, please, 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 please. Don't be so shy, the people want to go. So they don't get any present, so they just get your applausometer, but I think that was fine enough. And then, you know, I would like to get really a 5, a real 5 as an applausometer to the real hands which have been here behind, who are always working behind the scenes and without whom this whole event would not be possible. We would not have Slidos, we would have no sticky notes, we would not have anything. We would not have had any food even. So please, a round of applause to Frenny, Aurelia, Marco and Maya, please. Okay. And with that, I think we just reached 3 o'clock. I have not lost my voice. I'm a very happy person, and I wish you a very good trip back, full of inspiration. We will certainly come back to you. I hope that if, you know, we come back to you, that you simply also know who we are, that we are here in order to support you, in order to take mission actions. And with that, have a nice weekend. The spring has come, so thanks a lot.